Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi. Oh, ah. Ah. I am playing no games. Every word that I say is coming straight from my heart. So if you try to lay in these arms, I will leave my door open. I will leave my door open. Tell me. La, 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 la. Oh, hi, hi. Oh, haven't seen you in a really long while. In stream. Oh, I'm taking care of one thing, and then I'll be talking about my New York trip. How's your Friday going? Bon bon. Hi, Bon Bon. Hi, hi, hi. 너와 이 순간 love the feeling sweet life here for the good times. Okay, so I'm back from New York and it feels good to be back from New York. Good so far. I went swimming and I'm very tired because I went swimming, but it's all good. I'm here now. Okay. Oh, hasn't kind of feels fresh. Oh, so today I want to talk about some topics. I'm going to talk about my New York trip obviously, and then I want to talk a little bit about how to stream because some of my students have been asking for it, so I want to make a quick guide about that. So, gonna be covering those two things at least. Okay, it's gonna rain apparently in California soon, so that's what's going on. I feel like I had something else to do, but you know what? I did just remember. Give me one sec. Well, I'm gonna be working on a little bit of stuff, but yeah, just waiting for people to join in. Man, but swimming was fun and at the same time very. Now I'm tired. Oh, right. I also have another book review because I finally finished reading my book. So I'm gonna bring that book. I'll be right back. this book, I finally finished it. So, I want to talk about that. Oh, you know what? Based on my conversations with you, I know that you're athletic, so I think you're really gonna like jujitsu. I really hope you try it out. Yeah, it's really fun. Um, you get to learn how to beat up other people and protect yourself from harm, and that's always good. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what city you're in, but yeah, there's a lot of good schools. But don't say where you live because this is a public space. I have one more thing to talk. One more thing to handle before. Yeah. I just need to. Okay. Almost done with the stuff that I'm doing. Okay, finally, I'm done with all the stuff that I wanted to do. So now it's time to talk about some stuff. All right, I am back from NYC, and so let's talk a little bit about New York City, what I did, and with for that, I'm gonna open up my browser here. Let's get chat, and then let's turn off the this for a second, and then window capture. All right, New York City. Okay, so um, just want to briefly talk about my experience here. Kind of recap everything. For the first time, I usually go to JFK because that's like the big international airport in New York. But I kind of grew to dislike landing at JFK for one big reason. Um, the airport is good and the like everything is like okay, right? But the we I usually stay in Manhattan. So coming from here to here, it's a really long taxi ride, like regardless of which way you take. And I really don't like spending a lot of time in traffic. And I usually, when I go to New York City, I take the night flight, so I land in the morning. And so landing in the morning and then spending like another few hours in the car is just not that fun of an experience. So instead, this time we tried taking the Newark Airport in New Jersey, and so LAX had a direct flight to Newark that was really good, and like it's a smaller airport, but like it had all the features that you need for an airport, like namely airplanes can land and depart from there. That's good enough for me. And on the way to Manhattan, it's just like so much shorter and a lot less traffic compared to JFK. JFK to Manhattan, it's like 1 hour, 2 hour ish, especially in the morning time. But Newark to Manhattan was like only around like 40 minutes. And you know what? In the depending on the time, it was actually less than 40 minutes. So it was very, very, very desirable. Loved it very much. So, and also the nice thing is, on the way we took this route, so which means the Statue of Liberty is right here. I've lived in the United States for a fairly long time, and I lived in New York State for like 5 years, but I actually never saw the Statue of Liberty. Um, but I was in the taxi with my wife, and I saw Statue of Liberty with her, so that was a very nice experience. Kind of like, I've lived in America for a fairly long time, but always have these kinds of reminders of that. Wow, I'm in this big land of America. Yeah, so that was nice. And we tend to stay in the Chinatown area, and why we stay in Chinatown is because I used to work at a company that was around here, Soho, and so I we started going to New York City because that company offered business trips. So I just needed to buy my wife's flight tickets, and so she would tag along in my business trips, and because I would have to go to work, we would always get a hotel that's near the Lower Manhattan Soho. So that's why we started going to Chinatown. But then at the same time, we learned that there's some really good dim sum places in Chinatown. So since then, we've just been staying in Chinatown so that we can eat all the dim sum as much as possible. So like Los Angeles dim sum is good because there's a big Chinatown, but the Chinatown is a little bit far. There's a little bit of a distance to the Chinatown from where we live, so we don't really get to eat a lot of like delicious, good quality, like authentic dim sum that often. So when we get the chance, we just have to eat it. And the dim sum place that we like to go to is Mott Street. Yeah, it's called Shanghai 21 Canal Street. Yeah, I'm not sure if it shows up here or if I'm looking. I'm actually not that great at. Oh, I think it's right here. Yeah, Shanghai 21. This is our like favorite dim sum place. So went here twice, and I tried the oh yeah Xi'an famous foods. I've heard a lot of hype about this place, and finally had a chance to visit here. It was spicy and it was really good, but portion was super super big. Greenwich Village, yes. So we actually on the first day we walked from Chinatown to all the way to up to Washington Square Park, and then we went up around this area, and then we walked down this area. So we had a chance to visit Greenwich Village. So Greenwich Village was actually really nice. There was a nice bakery here. We yeah, like one of the big quests that we had was to find the French dessert called cannelle. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but basically this. So we were looking for like a place to kind of hang out in like a bakery or a cafe because we couldn't check out into the hotel because it was so early, and my wife was looking at some bakeries, and then she saw one of the bakeries had this food, and she was like, "Oh my god, I need to have this." So, but coincidentally, everywhere we go, they just ran out of it or didn't have it. So we spent the next few days trying to find the perfect canal, and then we finally got it. And I'm probably gonna talk about that later. But yes, Greenwich Village was very yeah, it was a pretty cool. It was very hip. Uh, there was a little tea house that we visited. It was very nice. Yeah, the traffic. So when I go to New York City, I usually just walk or take the subway. So the only time I ride the car is when we have to drive go to the airport. But when I was a college student, I lived in Ithaca. So Ithaca is these are the Finger Lakes, and if this is Binghamton, this must mean Ithaca is around here. Yeah. So this is where I went to college. So I would go to Korea and I would arrive at JFK Airport, and then I would drive all the way up to Ithaca, and then I would every time I need to come back to New York, I would take this route. It was absolutely horrible. But yeah, New York. When I get into the city, I could immediately tell that the traffic, like how people drive, is completely different. And at the time, I stayed in Harlem and Upper Manhattan, so lots of cars, especially around the this 9A and the FDR drive. The cars like the traffic is like just crazy. Yeah, not like California. I learned how to drive in California, so that was a really big adjustment to make. Yeah, Subway Pass nowadays. Um, this was new to me. I was expecting to get one of those like really cheap, like that flimsy like subway ticket. But nowadays, if you have like Apple Pay or like Google Pay on your phone, you can just pay with that. You can just pay with your phone. It was like holy shit! It was so mind blowing. It's crazy. But it it also gives caps you at $34 a week, regardless of what day you started. So if you're going to New York City, like have that like mobile payment ready, and then you're kind of set for all the subway rides. So that was really really cool. I think that was new. We realized that it's been like 8 years since we last visited, so a lot of things were different. Specifically, New York was a lot less crowded than we last went, and I think that has to do with the COVID. But anyway, um, the train station that our hotel was close to is East Broadway, which is like the F line. The New York subway system is actually surprisingly really good because New York has a lot. The New York subway system's been around for a long time. All the map applications have the information really specifically noted out, and so I took the F line, and if you click this, yeah, it actually shows you the line. So actually not that complicated. But the only complicated thing is I go here, right, and then I go to 47. It would say 40. It would say transfer at 42nd Street, Bryant Park, into the 1 or 2 or 3 line. That's somewhere that we had to go. So this area is technically one line, right? But they're not like as interconnected as the other stations. So you have to do a little bit of walking from Bryant Park to the Times Square. So that was a little bit confusing, but yeah, it's manageable. And if you're gonna be in New York City, you're gonna expect to walk and use public transit a lot. Yeah, the homeless. I live in California, so the homeless situation was actually a lot better than California, which is kind of depressing to say. But yes, I did see my fair share of homeless people. But yeah, I actually think about homeless people, like this phenomenon of homeless situation a lot. But it wasn't as bad as California. Possibly, and probably because California has a much nicer climate that's more friendly to being homeless. But anyway, so that was our first day. Like we stayed around here and then had some pho, and then came back to the hotel, passed out because we were so tired, and then had dim sum that next day. And then so the next day, I had one goal in mind, and that was to visit the Korean Buddhism temple, the Joge Temple of America. So this was my only goal, and so it's on 96th Street, and it's a really kind of a humble kind of a temple. And let me prepare some photos so you can see. Let's see. Do I have photos? It may be in my wife's phone. Oh crap. Well, it's in my wife's phone. But I visited a few other temples as well. So I visited uh here we go. The Chinese Mahayana Buddhism temple. Here's me being really proud of visiting here. And then I didn't take any pictures of the inside. My wife has some photos on her phone, but yeah, in the Chinese Mahayana temple, there's this like a wall, and it has like a sequence of Buddha's life, and these are kind of my favorite moments of Buddha's life. The where like the intense suffering and the intense kind of meditations that Buddha went through, and after he renounced the unilateral suffering and he found the middle way, how he got out of that like intense suffering and finally arrived at enlightenment after the milk soup from Sujata, and the story with Angulimala, which is kind of like my favorite Buddhism lore. And so yeah, I took pictures of these three, and then I let me find my other pictures that I got. What's your ETA? What's your ETA? Mm-hmm. Oh crap! It's not in. Well, anyway, um, can I do this? Yeah, this is the temple, and I had a chance to bow to the Buddha here, and the head monk in residence at this temple was very generous to offer me some tea and a very nice conversation and about Buddhism. And so now it's been around like half a year since I became like a really hardcore practicing Buddhist, and I kind of fell into a rabbit hole. So I have a quite of a bit of a depth when it comes to like knowledge about Buddhism and the practice of it. But I always kind of found myself just studying by myself, right? And I was really hoping to get some kind of a guidance or have a deeper kind of an interaction with someone who is actually in the religion, and that was kind of like the motivation for visiting this temple. But and the monk there, the head monk in residence, the sunim there, he was very nice to not only listen to my journey with Buddhism, and he also provided a lot of guidance. So okay, so I basically gave him my whole spiel, and he was like, okay, so I think at this point for your like development as like practicing Buddhist, I think these are the resources that you want to talk look into. And oh, okay, you said you're from Los Angeles, and okay, so if you're in Los Angeles, here are some people that you should get into touch with, and these are people I personally know. So contact these people, let them know that you talked to me, and then I think these are the temples that you should visit, and blah blah blah. Like here are the people, here are the monks that you should ask for when you visit these temples. And so that actually gave me a lot of guidance, right? And so I sent a lot of emails after this visit, and all the people that the Sinim mentioned, they were very happy to talk with me, and it just feels really good to kind of have some make some meaningful connections about something that you're really passionate about. And moreover, now I have some like mentors, and now I have some kind of like teachers so that I can learn Buddhism from. Hey, Corporal Hitman, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back to the stream. Yeah, so after the interaction, the Sneam also texted me a bunch of books to read for my reference. So I was like, oh hell yeah! And then so I ordered all of them on Amazon, and then yeah, these are some hardcore books, and I have a lot of studying to do. The core of the book that I'm studying right now is the Lankavatara Sutra, And so this is one of the not really popular Buddhist sutras, but it has a lot to do with like deep Zen and deep like meditation and contemplation. And so, yes, the material is extremely challenging to understand, but I think that's what kind of makes it worth studying a lot. But anyway, spent some time here, and now my wife and I were still on the quest for some canals, and so we went here on 72nd Street, and there is a bakery called Delice Macarons here. This place, this patisserie, absolutely, absolutely wonderful. Hey, Kelly. So, my wife is a bread person. I'm also a bread person. My wife is more of the Japanese, Taiwanese, Hong Kong, that kind of like, bread person. I'm more of the pastry person. So, we're both very passionate about bread and baked goods in general. But, oh man, this place had some intensely good stuff. uh, it's called Delice Macaron, but I never actually tried the macaron here. We had the cheesecake and the eclair and the show. Choux à la crème. It was, oh my god, this was so good. And needless to say, the canal, the whole reason why we went there was good. The almond croissant, absolutely wonderful. And you could really taste the butter and all the layers in there. And the lady there was also really nice and generous with gave us a lot of samples, gave us a beignet to try out, and wasn't really shy about recommending a bunch of things. And the bosses are super pretty too, right? So yeah, we went here twice, and then like walked out with like fistfuls of bread, and the whole quest for canals was very, 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 very much worth it, because it was, you see this? So this was so good, and I'm having an intense hangover from this place. Like, I really want it again. No, miss it. And then yeah, we went to a pizzeria called I forget the name. Parla. Fairly hip place. Yeah, this is exactly what it looks like. Yeah, the layers. You know your pastries. Um, yeah, I had the New York slice here, and yeah, that this place had really good food. I had a nice drink here, so they're not they don't show the New York slice, but anyway, I had the New York slice, and yeah, so I actually went to a there's a local French bakery in my neighborhood, and I they offered a French croissant baking class. So I was like, I baked bread before, so how bad can it be? I'm gonna learn. And then I didn't realize how difficult it is to make like authentic French croissant. And then so I went to the class, right? And I was just like talking to the people who were like my classmates, and then the one dude was like, so, like, are you guys mentally prepared? Because this is gonna be really hard. And I was like, wait, what? This is gonna be really hard? And all the other people were like, yeah, like I know how challenging it is to bake something like this at home. And I'm thinking like, wait, why? Is this something different about croissant? Like, why is it so difficult? And then so, um, shortly thereafter, when the class started, I understood. Oh, so this is why you don't like bake croissants at home. And then, but in the baking class, they had everything prepared. So like every step of the way, right? So like the dough, we got the chance to knead it, and then we put it in the freezer. I mean, we put it to rest, and then the chef had the next like set of batch of flour already like rested, the dough already rested. So now we got to kind of like spread that out a little bit, and then cut the dough like butter and like the quarters, and then like put the layer on top, and then we now I get to know like, oh, so the flake is like dough, butter, dough, and then you fold that, and then you spread it out, so you make a dough butter butter dough, and then now you fold it once more, so you have dough butter dough, and then so you keep on doing that, and then that's what makes the layers, and then now I understand, and I'm like, oh man, it's crazy. And then um, got all the materials, and then came back home, and I told my wife, like, I'm gonna bake you a croissant, and then I tried making it from scratch, failed miserably. It was so difficult. Good night, Denise. Yeah, I'm happy to provide you a little bit of a lullaby with my material. But anyway, had the pizza at Parla, and then yeah, went to Central Park like all tourists do. Um, Sat down in the benches, and I was in this New York trip. I was set to finish this freaking book, and so I did a lot of reading in Central Park, and that was good. Then came back. What else was memorable? Went to Brooklyn and took the picture that, yeah, this thing. Yeah, so when you go to Manhattan Bridge, and you see the Empire State Building in the inside of the arch, so like true tourists, we went there and took these pictures, and then had a Shake Shack here. Is it shown here? Yeah, Shake Shack Dumbo. Had a hamburger here. I'm trying to eat more vegetarian, so I had the veggie patty, which I thought was gonna be more like vegetables, but it actually turned out to be more like the Impossible Burger patties. So you know what, like Impossible Burger patties, they're not even that like distinguishable in my opinion. So like had a nice veggie burger, didn't contribute to environment wreckage. Then took the stairs to the Brooklyn Bridge, and then walked the Brooklyn Bridge back to Manhattan, came here. And then this was the day of the eclipse. So uh, the New York trip turned out to be kind of eventful because two of the biggest kind of New York events happened while we were there. Number one was the earthquake, which happened on the day of our arrival. And I actually felt it when I was in the temple. I was meditating, um, and then I felt the ground kind of shake, and I was like, "Oh, it must be the New York subway." And then turns out it was an earthquake. And New York doesn't have like 4 point something earthquakes that often, so that was the whole talk of the yeah, it was a conversation topic, and the eclipse. So we went to the gelateria here, and Elizabeth Street Garden we went to. Ah, okay. So this is the Elizabeth Street Garden, which means our gelateria must have been some, yeah, Figo Il Gelato Italiano. We went here, um, had some nice gelato here, stayed outside of here in the streets to watch to look at the eclipse. So I have transition glasses, so these turn dark in sunlight, and I saw a partial eclipse in California before, and that I couldn't see with my eyes. I had to use that special, like that really black tinted film, right? And turned out that was like, oh, okay, I guess this is an eclipse. But this time, it was eclipsed enough I could actually see it with just my glasses, and it was really wicked cool. Yeah, only a little bit of the sun still showing up. Hey, but you know what? It was still really bright, and everybody was on the streets. We're all looking at the same thing, like the sky, and we were all saying, "That much is covered, and it's so bright outside." So it just kind of shows you the power of the sun, huh? But anyway, after that, still wanted to finish this book, so walked out to Elizabeth Street Garden so we could just hang out before dinner. And this garden turned out to be a very pleasant experience. And I'm gonna write an email about this, but this is like a community garden, and it's just kind of an open space with a lot of benches. And I was basically like one of these people, right? And I'm just sitting here reading my book, And the really cool thing about this place is that because it's just kind of a neighborhood institution, some people just drop by here, like tend to their business, and then and then they leave. Some people gather here, or like not really intending to hang out with people, but then they're just here, and then their neighborhood friends also stop by here, and then they start forming this organic group and conversations, and then like they start making plans to do things like that. I think that is something that's really missing from modern society. Like just having this kind of communal space where people hang out, and then people coincidentally run into each other, and then they kind of make impromptu plans to do stuff, and then just take things from there. And this is like that neighborhood hangout spot. So that was, I think, really cool to witness, because it's not like that anymore. Society these days. But apparently, it says help save Elizabeth Street Garden. Apparently, the city wants to remove this garden and develop it, and so they were asking for donations to fight the legal funds, so that they could keep this garden kind of a communal space. So I was planning to kind of donate some of my resources to it as well, because I had a very pleasant time. I was sitting actually like right here, around here, where there was a bench, and then yeah, just really enjoyed reading this book, and went to dinner. Yeah, so that was kind of the New York trip, and then came back to the hotel, watched some Netflix movies, watched Baby Driver, uh, which was a movie I've been eyeing for a really long time, but just didn't have the time to watch it. It was a very stylish movie. Maybe I'll do a review of it. Maybe not today, but possibly in the future. And one of the things that wasn't that great is my wife and I, we both had a lot of knee problems because we weren't used to that much walking, and then on the first day we just like walked like crazy, and so we had to tend to our knees a lot. Guess we're getting old, huh? But anyway, it was a nice contained trip, and I think I'm gonna start planning for more kind of in-person events in New York City, with my life coaching stuff. So, hoping to visit New York City more often for business purposes, and not for leisure. Of course, leisure can be intermixed, but yeah, I want to host more in person events in New York City, because, yeah, it's fun, and it's nice to visit New York. And what I really like about visiting New York these days is because I really had a miserable kind of a college experience. I really didn't enjoy my time in New York State, but is kind of like my personal story behind New York. But like New York isn't really defined by that anymore, because now New York is like this wonderful kind of travel destination. That I get to go with my wife, and kind of like redefining the story of my life, right? And I think that's what's so nice about New York. Yeah, Ithaca is very, very depressing. Oh man, can't believe I spent 5 years here. Okay, but anyway, that was a recap of my wonderful New York City trip. I loved being in New York. All right. Now let's review this book. But I actually don't know how to say this name because I know it in Korean. Cersei. Okay. So it sounds like Cersei. Ah, I love sparkling water. Quick fact about me. Hey everyone, it's been a long time since we did one of these, but it is time for another life coach reviews books. And this book I got last October, November at the Honolulu International Airport, along with my other book, A Little Life, Cersei. I got this book along with the A Little Life because I was kind of thinking, okay, so I'm this person who reads books now, right? I got A Little Life because it was 800 something page book. It was a massive book, and I wanted to see if I could like actually read that big of a book. I wanted to see if I kind of have it in me, and I was expecting that book to be the challenging book to read. And this book I picked out of pleasure, right? Why? Because I actually am a big fan of Greek mythology. Or at least I thought I was, because in Korea, where there's a lot of children's book about Greek mythology, and so I grew up reading those like books with lots of pictures, and so it was cool. And I remember when I first went to school in Canada. Um, I remember that like the school had like a trivia thing. I think it was literature class, and then I was like the person who was the most well versed in Greek mythology. So it was kind of like my thing, right? And so that's why that was my kind of previous relationship with Greek mythology. And when I saw this book at the airport, and it's like, hey, like it's #1 New York Times bestseller, and it's about Greek mythology, so I was like, oh, and it's like a feminist book, so I'm like, okay, so like there's no reason why I shouldn't read this. It's like a good pleasure book. And then, interestingly, the A Little Life turned out to be like a real page turner. It's a completely miserable book. It was a wild emotional roller coaster filled with torment and suffering, but it had a very addictive quality to it. So I actually finished A Little Life first, and then after that, I got into a severe like book depression, because A Little Life is such a traumatic book. I was just kind of turned off to fiction now, right? I'm like, oh man, I can't read fictions anymore because I need that, like I have a bit of a hangover. Thanks for joining, and yeah, I'm glad you had a fun time watching the stream. But yeah, like have a great weekend to you as well. All right, so how fiction hangover? Okay, so now anyway, that's the context around why this book took such a long time to read. And to be completely honest with you, this book took a long time to read partly because, in my opinion, the book doesn't really get exciting until the last like 8 chapters. And I think the book has about like 27 chapters. Yeah, it has 27 chapters. So, the whole kind of like first 19 chapters seem like a large intro. And I think if you are more well versed in Greek mythology than I am, and I turns out I really wasn't. I only knew the context around the gods and like what the gods are symbolic of. But what this book revolves around is less about the Olympians. It's more about the Titans and the humans around the Titans. So the book is less about Zeus and Hera and like Hades and these like grand Olympians. It's more about like Helios and the Oceanus and the daughter of Helios and the Persephone and all the humans like Odysseus and Daedalus and the Minotaur and all these things. So that part I wasn't really informed, right? Like I didn't really know the backstory around those like Titans and the humans surrounding them. But apparently this book is a reinterpretation of the lore around the witch Cersei. And so because I didn't know the pre-existing version, this how this book explained it turned out to be not that fresh to me, because it's like, oh, I guess this is what just happened. And after I completed the book, I read the more traditionally more publicly around lore around Cersei, and it was like, oh, okay, so this book actually turned out to be a very feminine reimagination of what Cersei's life must have been like. But yeah, after around chapter 19, the book picks its pace up, and it starts becoming very interesting, at least. But there's a lot of the Greek fates involved. Like the Oedipal thing, right? Oedipus, you like have you are fated for a life of like killing your father and marrying your mother, and then like, oh no, I'm gonna do everything I can to avoid this fate, and then like time passes, and then you ultimately end up fulfilling that fate. uh, there's a lot of those in this book as well. So if you like the Greek literature and the whole themes around Greek mythology, I think this is gonna be a very entertaining book for you. But in the end, was it like a really fun, great book? Was it like The Alchemist to me? Not really. But it's not, I think, the book's fault per se. It's just my lack of context around the character of Cersei, and I guess how the story kind of like unfolds itself, like how the pace goes from like slow, 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 and then at the end just like boom, 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 boom. That is kind of like why I think this book was so hard to read to finish. So I would say it's like a if 5-star system. I would give this book 2.5 stars. It was a solid like read, but it wasn't like exactly that great. And what's my favorite part about the book? I gotta find it. So okay. So this part may be a little bit of a spoiler, but basically Cersei is like a witch. She's a nymph, and but ultimately she gets into touch with like the magical qualities, uh, herb mixing, and then like potion brewing, and like casting spells and things like that. And that's kind of been her fate in her immortal life. And now she's looking to transition into kind of a different life. So there's a passage that kind of like describes the determination of Cersei. For me, there was nothing. I would go on through the countless millennia, while everyone I met ran through my fingers, and I was left with only those who were like me, the Olympians and Titans, my sister and brothers, my father. I felt something in me then. It was like the old, early days of my spells, when the path would open, sudden and clear, before my feet. All those years I had wrestled and fought. Yet there was a part of me that had stood still, just as my sister said. I seemed to hear that pale creature in his black depths. Then, child, make another. I did nothing to prepare. If I was not ready now, when would I be? I did not even walk up to the peak. He could come here, upon my yellow sands, and face me where I stood. Father, I said, into the air, I would speak with you. So, uh, the character of Cersei is really just kind of like always living under her father's shadow, and is always just kind of at the mercy of other people. But this is kind of the turning point where she's like, you know what? Fuck that. Like, I don't need to live like that anymore. And is it scary as hell still? Like, even when you realize and recognize that you have nothing to lose, therefore, like nobody has any power over you anymore, because you only lose power when you have something to lose. It's still scary as hell, but like now you're able to kind of come to the trading table with nothing to lose, and ultimately that's what gives you the power, right? And so I thought that was kind of the most interesting part of the book, how the character's kind of relationship with power changes by recognizing that, oh yeah, like, huh, yeah, I didn't have to be like that. So my that's my favorite passage from this book. And one more last notice, that if you are interested in Greek mythology in general, and also if you like playing games, something I want to recommend is the video game called Hades. It's another very creative, perspective on the story around Hades and his son. It is yeah, it's a very well made game, and it doesn't require like complex controls. So it has a ton of like replay value, and it showcases a lot of the characters you're familiar with in the Greek mythology. So that's something I want to recommend. And also, if you are into board games, um, there is a board game called. Honey, what's the board game called? The one with the Greece. Oh, Santorini. Santorini is a wonderful board game if you are into board games and Greek mythology, and it's best for two players. So that's my recommendation, and that's my thoughts after reading Madeline Miller's Circe. All right. So yeah, that's my uh, story of this. Okay, so now I just have one more video to make. Okay, now I talk about. In this video, I want to teach you how to stream, how to get started with streaming. Now, am I doing this because I'm the most successful YouTube streamer ever? No. Like I don't really have a lot of concurrent viewers, and my YouTube channel is not in the millions. I can't even monetize my YouTube channel yet. So I'm not making this guide for the sake of making like trying to tell you how to be like successful numerically, right? Because even I'm not there yet. So if I say I can tell you how, like that would kind of be a lie. But I think the most important thing when you are streaming is the fact that you are having fun talking to a camera. And I think I'm doing a fairly good job of doing that. I can stay online for like over an hour just talking to myself in front of a camera, and I don't feel like I'm gonna die. And I do recall my first days of streaming where I thought I was going to die because it's so awkward and nobody's watching this and it's so embarrassing and like all that pause. So I definitely think that kind of if you think streaming, if you think of streaming like that, streaming is going to be very, very difficult. And so I want to give you some tips around how to make streaming a more pleasurable experience for you, and kind of introduce you to like why I value streaming as a way of communicating with people. So, what's the value of streaming? Why would you stream um, instead of just making recorded videos? Well, recorded videos are good for packing kind of some of the information that you provide into a neatly kind of a contained start and an end kind of an experience, right? It's this unit of information that you can share. So it doesn't always have to be about like professional knowledge, right? A lot of channels are, but like even if it's entertainment, even if it's like something personal, a video has like a start and end. And you know what? Even if it's like a 15-minute video and you talk about multiple things, those videos tend to not do their job that well compared to contained videos, right? So I have a life coaching video YouTube channel. So when I talk about a life coaching topic, I not only do the videos that are contained to one topic generally perform better on YouTube, but at the same time, those videos tend to do a better job at communicating what I want to teach to the viewers, right? Because it doesn't go on and on and on across multiple different topics. So videos are kind of isolated units of information that you share with your viewers. Now, stream is a little bit different because there's a very loosely defined start and end. And why this is important is you get to showcase kind of like unfiltered and unedited parts of you, which means your viewers have a chance to see the human of you. Because if you are a life coach or if you are kind of an entrepreneur who is always kind of in professional video settings only, then people start forming this like professional image of you, and they get used to the way you speak to a camera that's being recorded for the purposes of a video. Now, there's no inherent problem with that. But the thing is, when you take on clients and when you start talking to people one-on-one for your like paid offers or things like that, then there's a discrepancy with how you speak in videos that are professionally edited, and you talk without pauses and everything is like seamless, and there's like professional transitions, and now they get to see the unfiltered you, right? With the pauses and with the like and with the body gestures of like with the sneezes and coughing and like throat clearing and things like that. So this kind of, the more you present yourself a certain way in your entrepreneurship, the the more kind of an inner resistance you can develop around showing yourself as you are. And I think a big part of the solopreneur experience is being so natural and kind of comfortable in your own skin. Because why? It's exactly the experience that your clients are going to get, and that's so important. And now you don't have to have a video persona. You don't have to have a client persona. It becomes all part of one, which makes your business a more comfortable business to operate. And if you are a student of my business coaching, then you know I value you not expending energy for your business. Because when you expend energy for your business, when your work is something that spends energy for you, then you always have to recover. Then you always have to kind of retreat and go back into your shell. And that's a lot of lost time, in my opinion, right? And so I always encourage my students to think about, okay, like, is your work difficult? Does your work feel tough? Does your work feel like it spends energy instead of like invigorating you? Then you have to kind of reassess how you're approaching your business. So streaming is one way to kind of really speed up that process. Because why? It's so uncomfortable. So I told you the value of streaming now, which is that people get to see you for the human being that you are, and it makes it makes your viewers and your potential buyers, it makes it so much easier to form an authentic relationship with you, because they get to know how you speak. And if you like come into a coaching session with me, this is exactly how I speak. This is how exactly how I talk to you. This is like, I use a different computer for coaching, but this is exactly the backdrop that you're gonna see in my coaching experience. So it's like you get a preview of what interactions with me are like. So that's the pros of it. But now the cons of streaming is that, number one, it's so difficult. Um, why? Because you're not used to talking to yourself in front of a camera. And to be completely honest with you, I think a lot of marketing problems are basically that. You can't talk to yourself in front of a camera. It feels awkward, it feels forced, it feels unnatural. So that is a big problem that you have to kind of learn how to tackle. And I think streaming is the most effective way to learn how to tackle that problem of like just talking to an empty audience. So that's the difficult part about streaming. And the second kind of the difficult part about streaming is it's a little bit technically involved. So with YouTube, with like self-contained videos, you can just take a video like with your phone or whatever, and then you can just upload it through the app, right? But yeah, you could use your phone to stream, and I've done that once or twice. But at the same time, like having a professional UI like this with the captions and the chat logs and everything, and I sometimes I play music, and I share my screens and things like that, right? Like so if you have these tools around you, it makes your streaming experience a lot better, right? But at the same time, these things are kind of like technically more challenging to put together. And there's a lot of easy tools to make this possible for you. But if you're not particularly a technical person, you may find it difficult to kind of like start the process of setting up your software like this. But um, well, it's a kind of a one-time thing. Once you set it up once, the you rarely need to touch it. So I guess that's kind of the good thing about well, the silver lining around this difficult part of streaming. Okay, and so how to do it? I recommend, this is the software that I use. It's called OBS Studio, and this application allows you to uh, pick a service and start streaming. So you can. Oh, and it's multi-platform, so it doesn't care if you're Windows or Mac or Linux. You can. I want to show you the entire. Can I share the OBS here? Okay, I can't like show you my screen, but you know what? Can I? Let me see. Display capture. Okay. Oh, cool. So now you're seeing my screen. So if you go to settings here, you will find that. Oh, well, you can't see. Oh, because I'm streaming right now. There's a bunch of other different options too. So you can pick like YouTube. You can pick like Twitch. You can pick Facebook Live. You can pick like all these other things. And so you have the option to kind of like pick whatever platform you want to be streaming on, and then you just enter your credentials into there, and then you can get started right away with OBS. So OBS Studio is the software that I recommend, but at the same time, if you are going to be streaming on a platform called Twitch, which is a specific platform, there's a version of OBS called Streamlabs, and this is, I think it's Windows only. So if you are using Windows to stream, Streamlabs OBS actually has, and if you are using Twitch, it has a lot more baked in features that are gonna make your streaming a lot more convenient. There's like less work to do. So OBS, the open source version, or the Streamlabs, I think are your choices. The second thing to keep I want to share is, let's see. So when you have a chat log, it makes the stream kind of more entertaining to view. But when you have the default chat log like this, it doesn't look that great. So there's a way to make the chat logs look good. And that is done by this website. This website allows you to kind of design what your chat logs are going to look like. I'm gonna paste the link here so that you can take a look at it later on. So if you want to set up the chat overlay like I do, you can use this website to kind of customize it, and you're gonna get this code as a result. So you copy this code and you put it in. This is the chat. If you go here, there's a way to enter a custom CSS. And when you input that code that you pasted from the website, then you can get, sorry, it looks really confusing, but you can get a chat log like this. And the rest of the OBS stuff is kind of self-explanatory. So I'm sure you can figure it out. But the chat log is kind of difficult to set up, so I wanted to make sure I give you the link for that. The closed captions that you're seeing right here is a plugin, and again, I'm gonna share it here. And there's a release, and they give you the instructions on how to install this once you download this plugin. So when you have this plugin, then you can set up the captions so that it is kind of baked into the video. So the advantage of baking your baking your captions into the video is it doesn't allow any other editing software to put your transcriptions. It just like does that for you. And in general, videos with captions tend to perform better than videos without captions, because a lot of people watch videos on their phone with the sound off. Okay, and so those are kind of the technical guidelines of streaming. And now I want to make sure I want to talk to you about how to develop that sense of streaming. And to be honest, that part is kind of the simple but the hard part. So if you want to stream, I highly recommend streaming at least an hour for a week. This is gonna be really hard, and if you come unprepared, you will spend a lot of time just kind of blankly staring into space, and it will be extremely uncomfortable knowing that you're kind of like, this is being shown to the entire world. Of course, you can set up the stream so it's private. So if you want to have a test run, go ahead. But at some point, you have to open your stream up to the public if you want to actually become a streamer, right? So if you do it for less than an hour, then it's easy. You just pick one topic and then you just talk about it, and then you just close the stream, right? That's kind of like it won't develop your long-term kind of strategy around how to be a streamer. So how to be a streamer is kind of a different for everyone, but you get a chance to develop that sense when you are live for a prolonged amount of time consistently. And why I recommend at least an hour a week, and for a week, like every 7 days in sequence, is I started feeling something click around the week mark. And so that's why I give you this specific recommendation. It's something that I've done before. And now, aside from that, the only other thing that I want to, the only other thing, a tip is, if your stream, so when you watch other people stream, you will see that they do a lot of interactions with chat. People ask chat for their opinions and things like that, and then they reply, and then you kind of get ideas from here. So chat kind of becomes your content, right? So you can do that when you are an established streamer. But when you're not, when you're beginning and no one's watching your streaming, no one's watching your stream, which is likely going to be the case for a fairly long amount of time, it will really hinder you when the more you rely on your viewers. So, a really important tip is to kind of expect there to be no viewers. Expect your viewers to join in for like a second or two and then close the stream. Unless you're talking about something really enticing, right? So when you assume that no one's gonna watch your stream, number one, you don't get disappointed. Number two, you develop that sense of just kind of like talking on and on and on about something. Number three, you get to see like, oh, when I engage my topic like this, when I talk like this, when I do these things on stream, people tend to stick around for at least until that segment is over. So when rely really don't rely on your viewers kind of giving you feedback about what to talk about. Like, of course, you're welcome to kind of encourage it. So I always I like to periodically remind people, hey, join my Discord channel if you want to talk more, and you're welcome to like ask me any questions here. You can email me at billy@julylifecoach.com. I do all that spiel, but I don't expect my viewers to always feed me like ideas about what to do, because it's an ownership thing, right? This is my product. This is my offering. And if my offering relies on you, then it's like not really my offering, right? I'm kind of at the mercy of you. So don't fall into that trap simply because you see it a lot from other streamers. Other streamers are already established. They already have like a static set of viewers who always give you feedback no matter what you do. And it's kind of the goal of streaming, right? Building enough of those relationships so that the stream just kind of like builds itself. So I guess something to kind of really recognize is like streaming does become easier as time goes by, because you will the more consistently you do it, the more you will get like recurring viewers. And so it is important to kind of like keep that perspective. But again, the more you rely on your viewers, the worse of a time you're gonna have. Okay, so that is my guide to streaming 101, and I hope this helps if you're a new streamer. And have fun. It's fun for me. All right. So, I talked a lot today because I'm kind of excited to be here now, because I haven't streamed in a while, but it was good. All right, well, I'm gonna hang out with my wife now and my dogs, and so it's Friday. Have a good Friday. Thank you for watching my stream. Thanks for joining my New York City trip recap. And as always, you can, if you have topic requests and questions, you can always email me at billy@julylifecoach.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.